Sound, Mind, and Body is brought to you in part by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/inbound. You'll find over 180,000 titles to choose from and to listen to through your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Support Sound, Mind, and Body by visiting audibletrial.com/inbound.
Hello, and welcome to Sound, Mind, and Body, a podcast where we talk about the many different ways to stay healthy, balanced, and well of mind, body, and spirit in today's crazy world with a dash of woo-woo. I'm your host, Sheila Melody, and my guest today is one of the most awesome, fierce females I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. She is a lifelong yogi, an anatomy expert who brings holistic fitness and fierceness to a massive audience. She is one of the world's best-selling independent online wellness and fitness course creators. Welcome to the podcast, Sadie Nardini.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here.
So, Sadie, thank you again for being on the podcast and taking your time. I met you just a few weeks ago at one of the Bold Tour events here in Los Angeles. And I actually saw you speak last year for the first time at the Bold conference in San Diego. And I have a strength training studio here in LA. So I brought one of my instructors, Anne, who is a total heavy metal girl, and she was like, she doesn't want anything to do with yoga and all that kind of stuff, but she totally loves you. She was like, all right, this is my kind of girl, So I love what you're preaching. I love what you're teaching. And let's talk about how you got into this, in the first place.
Sure. Well, the story doesn't really start that happy, actually, but it does end well, I think. So far, so good anyway. When I was younger, I was a happy-go-lucky kid, pretty normal kid, loved to run in short bursts. Not so great at endurance running. I'd kind of just peter out, but the short bursts, I was really powerful. I loved that. And one day I was 13 years old. I went to the local swimming pool. I was in the shallow end, 4 feet of water, and a grown big man ran off the side of the pool, jumped, and cannonballed right onto my head.
Oh my God.
And it broke my neck in two places. It broke my thoracic or mid-back spine in one, dislocated a rib. I did not really know that this happened. I blacked out. They had to drag me out of the pool. And long story short, it took me about 2 years of being we call it partially paralyzed, but it was like a whole body weakness. I could crawl places. I couldn't walk very well. I was horribly dizzy, migraines, panic attacks, all the stuff that you would think from having something impacting your spinal cord. The problem was the doctors did not look at my neck because I didn't remember the accident. I just progressively got worse over 2 weeks. My mom took me to the hospital and they said, you have stage 4 leukemia.
What?
Yeah. Because the lab technician made an error with my blood work. We spent 2 weeks thinking I had stage 4
oh my God.
cancer. And when that turned out not to be the case, it was too late. They said, well, maybe you had spinal meningitis or something. And that's the story I told for years and years. Even about 5 years ago, I was telling that story. I think it might be still sitting there on my website. Wow. If you read that is an old story. Because I didn't know, it took me until I was 40 years old, 6 years ago, to go to a chiropractor finally and get x-rays. And that guy came back looking like Casper, the Friendly Ghost. He could not believe I was walking around that way.
What?
My bones had healed, but not in the right location for a spine. They were so pressing on my spinal cord. He didn't know how I was walking. I really credit it to my mom dragging out an old yoga book from the shelf, Richard Hittleman's 28-day yoga program. It was all old, dusty. She was wearing a flesh colored unitard, terrible fashion. And, and she gave me this book, and I said, well, I can't do hardly any of this stuff. I mean, I couldn't even do a knee down lunge at that time, but I could lie down and breathe. So that's how I started. That's how I started yoga, trying to save my own life when nobody could tell me what was wrong with me, but obviously something was.
Wow. So you credit a lot of that to your mom. Thank God for your mom's foresight. Was she into yoga? Was she doing yoga, or did she just hear about it and think that this might be something for you to help you heal?
She was into yoga. I mean, she's a child of the 60s, and here's the woo-woo portion of this interview. Probably she is a hippie chick. She liked yoga, but she always did it in her own way. I never saw her go to a class. I always saw her just practicing this or that in the house. And I'm like, what is she doing? I'll never do that weird thing. But when she gave me these poses, they were restorative poses, what we would lie down in it and call them yin today or something like that. So I think I stabilized my body as my spine healed enough to not, really horribly impact my spinal cord and remain paralyzed for life. It shifted it enough as it was healing to get me up and moving after a couple of years. And it took me about 10 more years before I could really walk into a yoga class and try something else out.
So you walked into a yoga class, you started to really take it. When did you decide that this was the thing for you and you wanted to teach it?
Circling back to when I was a kid, and I love to run. I love to play. Hearing doctors say you should invest in a wheelchair, you'll probably never walk. You'll definitely not exercise. You'll not be that kind of viable person, we don't think. But, maybe you can heal a little bit. We don't know. I'm very stubborn and I'm self-competitive. I like to see what I'm made of. I noticed that when I breathed differently and thought differently and restored in my movement, my body more, then I slightly shifted, like from 5 panic attacks a day to 3, or maybe it would help me be able to breathe a little bit and get through the migraines better, and eating better made me feel a little bit better. And I thought, well, if I can chip away at that, maybe let's see how far I can take this. Let's see how much I can chip away. What else am I going to do in my life? Just sit here, lay here. Really? I just got competitive with myself. I mean, I walked into my first yoga class. I had no idea what yoga really was. I thought it was lying down on the ground.
Yeah.
Like I did.
That's what you did.
Yeah, that's what I did. I had one book, and there wasn't the internet back then. We didn't have WebMD. We didn't have Yoga Journal online. We had nothing. We had books. And we didn't have Beryl Bender Birch's Power Yoga, which, I should have had to read because that's what the class was like. It was Ashtanga. I was nowhere near.
Whoa. So was it a shock?
Oh my God. I walked into that class and the teacher said, okay, and I'm expecting to just lie down. And after I already kind of tried to be on the elliptical for a little bit, I'm super weak at this point in my life. I get on the mat and she does frickin' chair pose was the first, I don't know why. It was the first pose. I got it. I just bent my knees and I started shaking so badly. I couldn't stay in it for more than 3 seconds. I mean, I was very weak. I didn't know what to do. I didn't really understand how to rest out. So I just took a lap. I just got off my mat and started walking around the room. And then I was asking people like, oh, wait, is this hard for you? I'm like upside down and talking to them in their down dog, Is this yoga? Is it all going to be like this? The teacher comes over and she kind of gently brings me back to my mat and shows me child's pose. And like, this is our resting pose. Make sure that you stay in that. I'm like, oh, I know this one. I was in child's pose 100 times that class. And she saw pretty much right away that I was, other abled.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I was alternatively abled. So I really needed all those rests. But the next class, it was 99 times. And the next class, it was 98 times I had to rest. So on and so forth for 3 years until I took over her classes and started teaching her classes.
Oh my gosh. You're kidding.
She certified me to teach her Ashtanga in the way that it was done back then without all the yoga schools. And then she left to India and I took over the classes in Seattle and the rest is history.
Wow. But did you at one point live in New York? I thought you went to New York and had a very successful studio there.
I sure did. Yeah. So I graduated college in Seattle. For anybody who knows about UW, that was my college in Seattle. Lovely place. Then I moved to New York, and New York was just a whole different ball game.
I bet.
These amazing, beautiful superhero yoginis everywhere, people just knowing everything. And I thought, there's no way I have anything to teach these people. But I started small in a little studio in the East Village called Sal Anthony's Movement Salon. Sal Anthony's Movement Salon.
I love it.
And I didn't know what to do. So I just tried to be myself. I mean, I had short hair like this, I had my heavy metal classic rock kind of love.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said what I thought. And I went from 3 people in class looking at me like I was an alien to having 75 people in every class playing great music. It wasn't really done that way back then so much.
Right. That's where you come in and where you developed your unique style. And that's what you did the talk about last year at the Bold Conference, about developing who you are uniquely. There's nobody like you. And I really get inspired by that, thinking that, because you think, oh, everybody's done it. They've done it every different way, but it hasn't been you, And so you took that to the nth degree and created this whole new kind of your own unique yoga shred program, right?
Yes. I noticed a long time ago, I do better with short bursts of activity instead of huge, long, drawn out things. People were always inviting me to their 2-hour yoga classes, and I just would leave exhausted, just done for the night, And I thought, well, if this is supposed to restore me and give me more energy, then I'm doing something wrong. I mean, I tried, I backed it off. I did all the things. And I realized for me and for so many other people, shorter is better. And the reason is science has proven that for a decade, but yogis are only now starting to realize after like 10 years of practice, 15 years, that we plateau in strength for some reason. We're not getting as toned perhaps as we would like. And I dare any yoga practitioner who's just been doing yoga for 20 years to run up a hill with me and see what happens, because the cardio optimization is not there. We don't get that kind of cardio optimization, which is how you intake and process oxygen. Therefore, we don't burn body fat as well. We don't get fast twitch muscle activation in yoga. It's a slower endurance based thing. So the fast twitch is what kind of tones and defines us and gives us a really super strong body for movement in life. Yoga poses give us stability. But at a point, we are not just going to sit in Warrior 2 for the rest of our lives. We've got to move. So you'll see a lot of yoga people being able to hold, a handstand or Warrior 3 for 30 breaths, but then they reach up to a cupboard one day real quick and they herniate a disc or they pull a muscle or something crazy because, so there's a lot of reasons that yoga alone was not quite doing it for me, especially over time. I added in that high intensity interval training everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
All the kids are talking about these days.
They are.
Because science tells us it's the best exercise there is. And that is absolutely true. I think together yoga and HIIT are pretty magical. So I created 25-minute workouts that anyone can do. And it gives you the benefits of working out for 2 to 4 hours.
I love your workouts. I just want to say I am currently taking your Fit, Fierce, and is it Fit, Fierce, and Fabulous?
Fit and Fierce over 40.
Oh, Fit and Fierce over 40. And it is fabulous.
Thank you. It is. I wanted to call it Fit, Fierce, and Fabulous over 40. That's so funny.
Well, I feel fabulous because it's just enough, because I can't in the morning or even throughout the day, or in the evening or whenever I can do it. I can't do a 1-hour class or, going there, and I've tried, and maybe once a week I can fit that in. But to come here and go, okay, I'm going to get this little dose of insight from Sadie. She gives her little talk for the day, which is, helps you think about something differently. And then you have your 20 to 25 minute piece of yoga that you're doing, and you always focus on a different thing. Let's focus on core, let's focus on metabolism, let's focus on, the breath or the all kinds of different things each time. And then you also have a recipe, and you talk about a nutritional subject, and you also have a journaling entry. You talk about, let's think about this today, journal about this. It's such a great and valuable program, and it's doable, it's sustainable, and I will do it. And so I think that you're brilliant, to do that. As I said, I have a strength training studio, which we do slow motion, high intensity strength training, which is a once a week, basically 20-minute workout, very intense, slow, and safe. I often call it the yoga of strength training, but there is that high intensity element in there. And there is that interval kind of thing, because you go from a piece of equipment to piece, with your heart rate goes up and then you goes down, and then you do it. It's almost like sprinting with slow motion strength training. So I love pairing yoga with that, because you don't get both of them together, like you said.
Yes. And yoga can help you, this. Yoga is one of the best ways to actually cleanse and detoxify the body, because sweating does not detoxify you. I don't know if you know that. It's a cooling mechanism. 1% of your toxins comes out in sweat. But how you do detoxify is turning your body upside down for the lymph system. Twisting. So you kind of stimulate the filter organs, the kidneys and the liver around that lower rib cage, and exhaling. Strangely, exhaling is one of the best ways you can detox. And also when you burn fat, this is so creepy, but sort of awesome. When you burn fat, it comes out as a gaseous form through your exhales. So you are like a fire and fat breathing dragon when you're doing high intensity interval training. So I'm always just like fierceness. Together, they're just awesome.
We're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to talk about how you transitioned from your brick and mortar yoga practice to being the online wellness and fitness maven that you are now. On the next episode of Sound, Mind, and Body, our guest is the iconic, award-winning actress, Linda Gray.
I'd never been to Texas before. That was scary. I didn't know who Sue Ellen was. And I thought, I better create this character. So I would hang out at Neiman Marcus.
Oh, a good place to hang out.
I'm supposed to be a very wealthy Texas lady. So I'm just going to take myself to Neiman Marcus.
So you were getting in character.
Yeah. And I would watch the women and their shoes and their handbags. Then one night we had a big dinner thing, very black tie-ish. And I went in the ladies' room at the Mansion Hotel. And as I was leaving, I put on a little lipstick. I was standing at the mirror, and the lady came over, and she had a little Judith Lieber bag. And she opened up her bag, and I looked in discreetly. And in the bag was a Derringer gun and a lipstick. And so being a California girl, this was kind of new for me. I was like, excuse me, is that a gun? And she looked at me and she said, yes, it is. This is Texas.
That's next week on Sound, Mind, and Body.
Hi, friends. It's Tim Edwards with the Inbound Podcasting Network and producer of Sound, Mind, and Body. And I want to talk to you for just a minute about Audible. Audible, in case you haven't heard, is a subsidiary of Amazon and the world's largest producer of digital audiobooks. Now, the fact that you're hearing my voice right now by listening to the Sound, Mind, and Body podcast tells us that you enjoy consuming your content through your ears. If you're a podcast listener, you're a perfect fit to enjoy audiobooks. So for you, our listeners, and official members of Sheila's Woo-Woo community, Audible is offering you a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial. And I have the perfect book to get you started. As you just heard, on next week's episode, we will be joined by Linda Gray, the iconic star of the hit series Dallas. As you'll learn next week, not only is Linda a talented actress, but she's also an author. And her book titled The Road to Happiness is Always Under Construction is available through Audible. Download Linda Gray's book for free and enjoy it before or after you listen to Sheila's interview. Give it a shot. You got nothing to lose. Your subscription is free for 30 days, and you get a free audiobook to keep even if you don't continue with the subscription. Support Sound Mind and Body by visiting audibletrial.com/inbound. That's audibletrial.com/inbound. We'll include a link in the show notes, or you can just click the Audible banner at soundmindbodypodcast.com.
Okay, we're back and we're talking to Sadie Nardini, one of the top online yoga course creators. And Sadie, before the break, you started to talk about your breath, and how you detoxify through your breath. And I absolutely love that. And explain a little bit more about how that works differently in your foundation.
Sure. Well, I do a lot of courses to help people, not all women, but mostly women, become more, I think, empowered to shine brighter, to become what I would call more fierce, which means fiercely you, and confident in who you are, all that stuff. There's a something in yoga called a mantra, and a lot of people have heard of this. They are chants or strings of words or single words that mean things, have a vibration, and maybe they live somewhere in the body and they help to vibrate that area and promote that energy, let's say. And physically that is true, but whether you believe in that or not, if you want to feel more fierce, then I encourage people to put their hands into lioness claws.
Yes.
And reclaim their primal wild nature, which I think as adults, especially, we tend to shut down, and we kind of, we over domesticate ourselves for other people, or not to get too, to be too much. God forbid we're too much for somebody. So when you say ha, that is a mantra. It's called a seed mantra. And HA in yoga promotes the energy of empowerment, of willpower. And luckily for us, it also tones the abs a lot. It gets right into the solar plexus, right at that area where I store the French fries, And it helps the abs fast twitch so they can tone and define a little bit better. It also gives us more of a belly area, mid belly and low belly exhale, where a lot of adults learn to breathe up higher in the chest. And that's not how we were born breathing. We were born inhaling into the low belly and exhaling from there. Then we moved it higher as stress takes over and our need to never have a belly in life, and suck it in and all that good stuff. So now we've got waist trainers and horrible corset things. And we're breathing high up in the chest and making ourselves anxious all day long. So that is a way to detoxify you, but also energetically get you to detox that self-expression and express that a little bit more.
I love it. And I am telling people about it every day. Try it. Listeners, try it. You're going to feel it in your abs right away. I actually was sore, because I was really doing it, and I love it. I love it.
Yes.
And not only that, it makes you feel a little more positive to start your day. You've just done this great breathing and you just feel stronger, more positive to start your day.
So when you're kicking up behind yourself, because a lot of us in yoga don't tone the mid and upper glutes. So we get this flatty patty back there. We do a lot of lunges to get the bottom of the glutes and the hamstrings, but we don't get that extension behind us. If you do that stuff, kicking or kicking out in front of you or ab work, if you do that on an inhale, you've lost a lot of spinal support and you can end up really crunching into your low back spine, your sacrum and stuff. So when you exhale and kick, you save your pelvis, you save your spine. There's so many reasons to do that. But my favorite one is that it just lets you out of your own cage a little bit more.
Yes.
And it helps you get back to that kind of animal power that I think we, have.
It does. And it's good to know that it's also very, a much more stable way to do the exercise. That just makes it even better.
Doesn't it?
Yes. So let's go and talk a little bit about how did you transition from being in the, the brick and mortar studio in New York, which was super successful. How did you, and when did you decide to transition into doing your online courses?
Well, what you're talking about is the Fierce Club. And I had this great garage, huge yoga studio in Soho in New York City. The rent was $12,000 a month, if you can imagine.
Wow.
And that's just basic there. That's for starters. We made ends meet from the very first month we opened. It got really popular. I was in a great place with it. After 2 years of that, I was getting a lot of invitations to spread the teaching of being fit and fierce and the anatomy knowledge I have, the yoga style I created out of that. It's different than a lot of yoga and the yoga shred, all that good stuff. I really wanted to help the world learn it and understand it. I felt a need to broaden it beyond the walls of this one studio. Mm-hmm. I accepted some invitations to the Yoga Journal conference. I started presenting with them. I got invited to China. I got invited to everywhere.
Wow.
And I really had a hard time turning that down. Eventually, I had to make a choice. Mm-hmm. The choice was between, going out and being a hunter-gatherer or staying home and being a farmer, because I was trying to do both and I couldn't do both at the same time. That was really tearing me in two directions. I wasn't giving the studio everything I could, and I wasn't giving the outside world everything I could. And I was really exhausted too at the end of the day. I chose to leave that brick and mortar space simply because I had a very high overhead. I spent a lot of time doing things that anyone could do, like sweeping floors and paying taxes and finding subs for people.
Yes.
I needed to get to the things that only I could do in the world. And I've always loved mass media. I've always loved, doing stuff. So anytime I would go travel to a place, I would film it. And then I would put a lot of that footage up on YouTube for starters, to try to reach a broader audience. Once I got more of an audience on YouTube and Facebook and all that, I realized these people may never come to see me in person or be able to get there or have the money to do that. What if I created something online, like I'm teaching these workshops? How would I do that? And that's how it all started.
Wow. And I have to say, you do it so well. You talked about this at the conference I first saw you speak at, about, just put that camera up, doing it, just little tips of, don't do this, don't do that, think about this, invest in the time and the money and having a real studio and shoot it all at once. And, that's very wise advice. And you can tell that your video series are so well produced and so well shot. And it's, and you give your all. So how did you break it down into I'm going to do this 21-day course and I'm going to break it down into these 21 different subjects and everything? That's a lot of work. How long did it take you to do that?
Well, I have a Moleskine journal, so it ends up online, which is kind of funny, very, technically oriented, but it starts out with an actual pen and an actual journal. And I do exactly what you said. I come up with a concept, something I haven't done before, something I'm feeling creative around. Like, let's say it's the new course I just did, a 30-day total body transformation challenge. It just released today. So it's funny. We're talking right now. I'm just sitting here watching sales come in while we're talking.
Wow.
I think it's, it's going really well right at the moment. Now, let's say I want to do that course, which I did. I know it's going to be 30 days. So I write 1 to 30. I know that I want this to be a total body transformation course because I think I want to offer something into the weight loss world that is healthier, that has a better body positive message, that actually works in less time, whether people have to lose weight or whether they just want to tone up or they feel like they're puffy and tired. And it doesn't matter. We can all transform to the next level of ourselves. Okay. So that's the point of the course. Then yes, exactly what you said. I break it down. What am I going to offer them? I want to do yoga shred days off that we focus on recipes and restoring ourselves. And then once a week, do a yoga flow that restores them. I don't think you should do HIIT for more than 3 days in a row. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, day 1, 2, 3, that's going to be a yoga shred practice. Day 4 is a rest, restorative, and recipe day. Day 5, 6, and 7 is going to be the HIIT. And then day 8 will be yoga. Nice yoga flow. That goes on for 30 days. I decide what topics I want on which days. And then I go write those on my Pages app, which I like. And then I film whatever workouts we need. And I find awesome smoothies that I love. I share those. You know, it works itself out. But that's how I do it. I have a good, short and sweet kind of map that I always use because it's working for people like you, and it would work for me. So I want to give, what I would do.
What I love about you too is that you write in a specific voice, and it's you. It's you talk. It's just like how you would talk, or the way that you communicate is in your conversational voice. And I love that too, because it's easy to read. And I feel like I'm talking to you, and that's not easy to do. You have a talent for this. You have a very good way to, communication talent.
Thank you. I never want to show up somewhere and try to be someone I'm not. And people are often surprised that I get up and talk on stage, and then they talk to me afterward for an hour and I'm the exact same person.
Yes. I was so impressed when I first saw you, because we were in this conference. It was about an hour, and you were running out of time, and you hadn't said all the things you wanted to say. You were telling us how to promote and how to do online Facebook ads and boosting posts and all these things that you have learned. You're sharing all of that with everybody. And you said, hey, meet me in the pool bar. I'm going to grab a Pinot Grigio, and we're going to continue this. And a bunch of us did. We went into about 10 of us or 12. We sat there, and you sat there and continued to show us. We all had a glass of wine. It was so great. It was great. I love that.
Thanks.
I love that about you.
And that was a special memory for me too, because I don't do things I don't want to do hardly ever. If I do, it's for a moment or two, and then I get out of there. But I would never have offered that if I didn't want to and had the energy and the interest to sit there. So you get the best of me. I'm there with you. I loved that. It was just a bunch of powerful women being curious and helping one another out. Those are my best times.
Yes. And what I love about that too is that you share your information. You're not like charging people. I'm going to show you how to do this, but you just have to take my course for $4,000. You share it, and you're like, here's how you do it. Go do it. Go be yourself. And I really admire that in you.
Well, I trusted from the beginning that if I made things more affordable, I would then be able to support myself in my own creative offerings through quantity of people rather than 3 people buying something for $4,000 ever in my whole life.
Right.
I'm going to get 400 people buying something for $20,
And then they'll buy multiple things.
Yes. And so you can afford this. It's $10. It's $20. I never want someone to come to my things and say, I can't afford that. I can't now go into this cool 21-day thing, this supportive community, because this girl is charging $100 for this, and I don't have it.
When you select the course, you can choose if you want to pay $10, $25, $40. And I now, knowing I chose the 25, that's like the middle point. Knowing what I know now after taking a course, I will gladly pay $40 for the next one because it's so well worth it. It's worth 10 times that much, really. But
thank you.
And then I'll tell everybody about it. So
that abundance, it expands upon itself. I did it at first because I'm a generous person by nature, and that's how I would have done it anyway. I did notice as I went along that exactly what you said. People want to give back. They want to hang out with me on my social media. They want to tell their friends about it, share stuff I do. They want to teach the style all over the place and shout me out. It's really awesome what happens when one person creates something that's pure, that she feels has a high value, and then gives it for an affordable price so people can get it. And I give a lot of stuff for free as well. I don't ever want anyone to have to pay for something I do if they can't. And then, you just can't study with me. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's not how I roll.
I love it.
But what I do create that has value and takes me time, I value it. And I return to myself the energy that I put out there through monetary material energy, because people can't give me back a course necessarily, but they can offer $10, $20, 20, and that works for me. It's a good exchange.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about you. I want to ask you the questions I ask all my guests. The first one, and we know a little bit about this, but how do you stay of sound mind and body in your own personal life? Like, how do you maintain that balance?
I learned something from a woman I admire. She was at least one of the busiest people in the world. Also, she has kids. She has a husband. She had a big house to take care of and the world to take care of. Her name is Michelle Obama. She had a really great technique for how she would schedule out her life. I heard this and then I used it myself, and it works really, really well. It was surprising because you would think she would have all this other stuff to schedule and then kind of stick herself and her family time in around that. Mm-hmm. However, she did the opposite. She would not schedule anything. Like, let's say it's the week ahead or the month ahead. She wouldn't schedule anything until she put down her workout time, her sleep time, her, meal times, family times with their kids, things that they really wanted to do together, even vacations. Then she would place other things around that were, meetings, all the things that I'm sure she had to do. That's the way we have to be stubborn about our self-care. Mm-hmm. If we do not stubbornly make and consistently maintain space for the things that we need first, we're going to be depleted. We'll be resentful and sick, and we can't function and serve anyone else in our lives that way. Most people think they're way too busy to do this, and then they start to look at it and, oh, wait, actually, maybe I could make a little space here. Maybe. And pretty soon you start to crowd out the old way of doing things. Everyone else first, me last. Mm-hmm. You start to turn that around. And it's a huge self-value invitation and statement to yourself too. People can heal from the inside out from all this, insecurity and low self-worth and self-esteem issues if they start treating themselves like they matter most.
I really love that. Boy, I'm going to start doing that for sure.
We all need it.
That is powerful. Yeah. And it puts that message out there to the universe. I matter. I'm first. You got to take care of yourself. And then when you fill your own cup, you have much more to give everybody else too.
And here's something radical. We talk about filling the cup and everything. Most people I see every day, these, especially women, but a lot of people, they are functioning with like a third full cup, and they're continuing to give out from that and then try to get a little back for themselves. And they're existing at this almost total depletion. And it's almost like, if I'm not dead, I'm going to keep pushing myself. Yes. That is not telling you on the inside that you're worthy. You wouldn't treat a child like that, or someone you were trying to impress. So what if we could fill our cup so that not only it was at the top, but it was spilling over, and with the overflow we give from that. So you're always full. And I think that's what they say, the cup spilleth over,
Yeah.
What would it take for everyone listening to get to that point? I say be ruthless, get there, and then see how much better all your relationships get, and how much you don't have to constantly talk about all your self-esteem problems, because they won't just be there. They're going to be dissolved. A lot of that stuff just magically loses power once you start nourishing yourself like you matter.
I love that. I am going to follow that, and I recommend everybody else follow that. So, all right. What's a favorite sound of yours?
Classic rock music is my favorite sound. In fact, we just made a classic rock and roll style original album in Los Angeles with some incredible musicians, and I was the singer. It sounds, I thought I would hate the sound of my voice. I listened to that thing. I'm like, dang, that girl's pretty good.
Where can we hear this? And when can we hear it?
Well, it's in mixing phase right now. It will be out in the next few months, and I'll definitely have that on my Facebook and my Instagram and everything.
So excited to hear that. That's
Thank you.
Cool.
It's pretty awesome. Hearing myself do a cover of Crazy Train and loving it was one of the high points of my whole life, I have to say. I didn't think I was going to be able to do that, but.
Okay, that can go to my next question is, what's a favorite memory?
Oh gosh, I have so many. One of my favorites that just popped into my head in Costa Rica once, and there's this crazy thing they do there where they get these yoga people who are on retreat like me to get on a horse and go trotting across a beach. I said I was scared of that huge animal because I'm not, I lived in New York for 20 years. I mean, the most wildlife I saw was a cockroach and a pigeon. I'm like, okay, well, I'm fierce in some ways. And sometimes I just don't feel comfortable getting on a huge horse for the first time. So I got on the horse that they gave me. That horse was the pack horse. They gave me the horse with all the bags and all the people, all the water, and it was just slow and old. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then, we're kind of moving along. This horse gets farther and farther behind everyone. All of a sudden, we're totally alone. They didn't even notice we were missing. I don't know. I hope this horse is going where the other horses are. I don't know. This will turn into a favorite memory, trust me. But here's what happens. We break through into the clearing from the jungle to the beach. And it's this long beach. It's about a mile of this white sand. All the other horses have crossed the whole beach, and now they're in the other clearing. My horse, this slow old horse, just suddenly takes off.
Oh my God.
Running like full speed. I'm in a freaking Western now. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't have anything to hang on to. I just have the saddle and the strap thing. I don't even know what I'm doing.
The reins.
Yes, the reins. Thanks. About to grab its mane and be like, I don't know. I think I'm going to fall off this thing. It's cracking my pelvis. I'm just jarring down into it.
Oh my God.
Okay. Here's my favorite memory. All of a sudden, halfway down this beach, I thought I was going to die. I thought my spine was going to fly out of my body, like Frisbee golf. Halfway down the beach, I find the rhythm. I let go. I quit trying to not die on this horse. And I just relax. And my body starts going with the rhythm of the animal. And all of a sudden, we're totally in sync. All the jarring disappears. We're running. We're flying down this beach. And I just look down in the wet water on the sand there. I can see this horse flying. I can see me on it. It's beautiful all of a sudden. And I had the thought, I hope when I die, I come back here. It was one of those perfect moments. And then that horse slowed down, got to the other side of the beach, and then just started going slow as hell again. And I'm like, can't we just go back there, man? I'm like, come on. Now I want to go fast,
That's so cool.
It was beautiful. I still remember it.
Oh my gosh. That's super cool.
Those moments of grace, we can't make them happen, but it's so beautiful when they do.
It's a metaphor for life.
Yeah.
Don't, just go with it. So favorite, what's a favorite place of yours?
I love Kyoto, Japan. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. I went there. I felt like I'd known that place before. I actually knew a bunch of the old streets. I took my friend to this building that had no signs or anything. And I said, that's where I trained to be a Maiko and a geisha in the Edo period. I don't even know these words. I said, I've been in here 1,000 times in and out of this doorway. I'm like, oh my God. Then a tour group comes by. I don't even know where I am. And they say, oh, this is the building they train Maiko and geisha in the Edo period.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, what are you talking about? Then someone found me in this really nice hotel and they said, oh, we'd love to dress you as a geisha for free. Okay. It's a 5-hour process. They're dressing me like a geisha for free. And I'm walking around the streets of Kyoto and people are taking my pictures. And
did you feel like you were back into a previous life?
I just went in. My friend who was with me, he said, you just changed into someone else. It was amazing to watch. And it was beautiful, transcendent what just happened. I just walked differently. I was in this place. I understood it. I don't know. Who can tell if we've been somewhere before, but it's a gorgeous, magical, mystical, temple-filled place that I just think everyone should visit once.
Cool. I'm going to have to look that up. So, well, that might even go to my next question, which is the final question. What's the most woo-woo thing you've ever done?
Oh, well, okay.
That story sounds kind of woo-woo.
Here's a good one. This is more woo-woo, but I think it's kind of hilarious. I tried to do woo-woo and I failed miserably this day. I went to a certain temple and I think it was upstate New York. This woman is supposedly enlightened and she gives Shaktipat. And Shaktipat, for those of you who don't know, is a transmission of opening your Kundalini energy, or all like your latent core energy, and like moving it up the spine, and all your past negativity is erased and you just feel transcendent. And she can supposedly do this while sitting in a room of 200 people.
Okay.
Give it to everybody. Shaktipat for everyone. I thought that sounded like a great idea. I'm like, why not? I'll go up there for the day. I'll eat vegetarian, and I'll have a good time. I go up there, I'm sitting in the group, and I realize that my pants are really uncomfortable. We're having to sit in meditation. I have jeans on, but I have a skirt in my bag. I really wanted to go do this. I don't know how the ashram deal works. I'm not really used to it. I go outside. I find what I think is a changing room. I take my pants off. And then about 5 men walk in, because apparently I'm in the men's ashram changing room area. So now I'm sitting there with my pants off completely, with my hands down, like, oh, I'm so sorry. And they're like, oh, don't worry, sister. It's all the beauty of human nature. I'm like, namaste. I'm like, get the hell out of here. And then I went in to try to have Shaktipat, and I was like, so weirded out. I'm like, are they in here? Like, am I going to close my eyes and I'm going to be like, we know what's under there? I don't know. It just freaked me out. So I tried. That was my woo-woo attempt.
Abort woo-woo attempt.
Yeah. Supposedly I got it anyway. I just couldn't really tell.
That is funny. That's very funny. Wow. Oh my gosh. This has been just the most enjoyable conversation, Sadie. I thank you.
I loved it.
So just today, your newest yoga online course has been released, and it's the 30-day transformation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So TBT 30.
So now you go to your website to see where these courses are, or are they offered through the Daily Om?
Now, this one is currently up on my own website. The best way people can see it, I think, would be to go to my Facebook page, because that's all over it right now. You can easily get that link. Otherwise, the link is kind of long. Okay. But I'm Sadie Nardini Official on Facebook and on Instagram. And those places are, you're right there. Then you can get all the free stuff too, if you want.
I'll put all those links in the show notes. And cool. I just, I encourage everybody to go check out. There's a course for everyone. You have multiple different ones. And I'll be taking another course after my 21-day Fit, Fierce, and Fabulous. Now,
woo, that's what it is.
After I'm fit, fierce, and fabulous, I will be going on to the Yoga Shred Challenge.
There you go. That's right. That's
well,
how you do it.
Thank you so much, Sadie. I cannot say thank you enough. You're amazing, and you're so unique. And I'm so grateful for you to take your time to talk to me today.
Thank you so much. I had a wonderful time. The time flew. I didn't even notice it. I just would like to leave everybody with this. I don't believe there is competition for your own path. I think there's only you getting in or out of your own way more. If you take that and really apply that to your life, there's, I think, no amount of miracles you can't create.
Love it. Great advice.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sadie Nardini.
You're welcome.
Well, that's it for this episode. And how do you stay a sound-minded body in your life? Let us know. Send us a voice memo or email us to podcast@soundmindbodypodcast.com. And thank you so much for listening. And please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you like the podcast, please give us a review. We love to read your reviews. And it really helps new listeners find us. I want to thank our producer, Tim Edwards, and the Inbound Podcasting Network. And get in touch. I'm on Instagram. I have a new Instagram that's Sound Mind Body Podcast. And I'm on Twitter at SheilaMelody1. Or find us on Facebook or the web. Search for Sound Mind Body Podcast. I'm Sheila Melody. Join us next week as we explore, enlighten, and evolve.